All righty. Well, I am excited to bring in Jonathan with RYS Development. This is Todd becoming a thing. One of the things that people will tell you about the Phoenix metropolitan area is there is an incredible lack in ADUs, or what we like to refer to as casitas. And a lot of people are going out and building casitas. There's been some leniency in the restrictions from cities that are allowing more and more people to buy or to build an ADU. And there's a lot of companies now going out there and doing this and partnering with real estate agents. And so for us, we've reached out and we started building development or a relationship with Jonathan from RYS. And the best part about it, and we'll get to it at the end of the presentation. His phone number is going to be at the end of the presentation, but we are in a position now to be able to receive, and we don't want to call it a referral fee because agents get all worked up about referral fees, but we're calling it an introduction fee. And so if you have a client and you introduce them to RYS Development and they secure financing for an ADU, and I've already had a long conversation with Dwayne about it, you're in a position to get paid. So with that, Jonathan, welcome, and I'll hand this over to you. Just press the down arrow button when you want to go to the next slide. But welcome, and tell us a little bit about RYS Development and what we're doing here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You got to get real close to the microphone.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I mean, to your point, every time I come in here, I learn something new. So I love listening to you guys first. But yeah, we're just here to solve issues. We're here to solve problems. You know, affordable housing for one. Obviously, it's getting worse and worse. If we're, the average age for first-time home buyers creeping up there. So this is just a solution to one of our problems, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we got started actually this year. My background is in construction. I started with the real estate developer last year. And just really got to know everything about it. I fell in love with it, and man, my passion's here. My passion lies with real estate. I'm here for the long haul with you guys. So.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, so like we said, there's a huge need for these out there, and I hadn't had a chance to go into the details on your slides, but there's just I felt like a couple years ago it was almost impossible to build an ADU in Phoenix. You had to hide the water areas, the kitchens, and so forth, build it, and then go in there and so forth. But talk a little bit about the need and what you're seeing out there, and who are good candidates for this.
So you're right. There was a lot of red tape until let's say probably about last year. Now it's getting a little bit easier. But I think there's a huge need for all kinds of people out there for generational living. People that can't afford to like you said, buy their own first-time property. People like older, senior citizens, for example. I know like senior living facilities could be hundreds of thousands of dollars to move into. So there's many different ways, from at-home businesses to gyms, to pool houses, like you name it. And then, there's all kinds of benefits. Obviously, you get back for getting it. But the most qualified people, in my opinion, if you have a lot over 6,000 square foot, if you have equity in your home, it's like you were telling you, just reach out, just find out, a 5-minute conversation, you never know, you can change a lot for you.
All right. So what do we got? What's on the next slide here?
All right.
Or you want me to handle? Okay.
I got it right here. All right. So basically, we just want you guys to feel comfortable with choosing RYS. We kind of walk you through it, hold your hand, if you will. We kind of tailor make it. So you tell me what you're looking for. We tell you, what your prospects are, what your options are. We want this best to suit your needs. We like to build everything that's ADA compliant with the showers. If they have the metal grab bars, there's no metal lips on the floor. We take all this in consideration, obviously. So we want it to be fully functional, but we also want it to be, look aesthetic as well. So we handle everything. If you guys don't know anything from A to Z, come to me. We'll help you find, obviously, Mr. Frederick over here, get some financing, and then we'll talk to you about your options once you're qualified. And then it's really, really easy. We handle everything from, the plans to getting permits to pulling everything all the way to certificate of occupancy. So really, you have nothing to lose just for reaching out.
So we've talked about, some of the key candidates for me. We already talked about generational housing. I was with some friends yesterday. We were looking at a home in McCormick Ranch, and we were just talking about, things going on with my my father-in-law. It's a long story, and how my mother-in-law is going to probably end up living with us. And so I was having that discussion with some friends. She goes, yeah. She goes, I mean, maybe we should go look for something that's got a casita because I'm going to be in the same boat. And then we went and looked at this home, and I'm like, oh, this is a huge lot. Like we could take care of business just on this particular property. But there's the generational housing. And then there's also that avenue of being able to turn something into an Airbnb, some additional income, for that family. And so there, and so for me, it's, working, I have people that have got big lots that would love to put in an ADU, and Justin can go through all the different financing options, but it's also a discussion that I'm having with buyers as we are looking, because there's loan programs where you can buy the property and then finance the ADU in with it.
Into the original package, yeah. Yeah, I think this is big because, like you had mentioned, generational housing, this is where the terms came up originally. And they were attached properties, and they were, converting and then extending a little bit of a larger facility. But they were limited on things like kitchens, the requirements on kitchens. They were limited on a lot of different things. And then, of course, people said, well, I've got kids living at home. Okay, so the kids wanted their own space, and kind of sometimes try to take over the parents' space. So there's all these issues with familial as you get into those. But to Mike's point, then you have older elderly parents or family, and that, to your point, you want to have a more affordable. Get this, when you go put somebody in a retirement community, they suck your income dry. That you sometimes have to sign your estate over to these people in some instances, to be able to have all those services. In this particular case, you also still own the property, and you get the tax deduction, and over and more and more and more. So, are people starting off in what you're seeing with detached, full-blown, meaning full-blown, with 100% containable properties, or are they doing just the attachments, where they're expanding those? What are you seeing in the market? And I mean, I know it depends on what the person needs, but just what is happening more than not in the market?
We're seeing a lot of people interested in just getting anything that's not detached or not attached currently. If that's not an option, we'll do attached as well, so we can work with the client. But it's a new time. It's a new frontier. We're excited. There's a lot of, this is brand new because there's a lot of programs that are still being created for first time, for people to basically take advantage of this program too. We're seeing mostly just everybody that wants to do like businesses. They want side income. They want, long-term income. They want generational. So it's a combination of everything really. So I'm getting hit from all fronts here, but anybody that's looking to break into real estate, get some doors in the portfolio, I think this is the way to do it, especially because, if you're 40 years old and you're not even living in a primary, your first time home buyer yet, like you got to start somewhere. And I think this is a smart move for a lot of people. It just makes sense more. It's a lot more affordable. Yep. Okay. Next slide.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, clients see the ADU as a flexible space that fits their style. Obviously, we're willing to work with everybody, as I mentioned. And they want it to be both functional, attractive, personal use, rental. Obviously, all kinds of different ways we can do this. We value comfort, privacy, natural light. So a little bit of function meets, everything. And then just kind of like a brief analysis of the construction site, we proposed, plenty of space. Like I said, minimum, you want 6,000 square foot lot. The law here in Arizona, 75% of your primary is what you can basically allocate to use as a casita. So if you have a 2,000 square foot home, you can basically build a 1,500 foot if the area or the municipality you live in allows it.
And then there are some situations where certain municipalities, if your yard's big enough, you could even put in multiple ADUs in there if the equation and the percentages pan out.
As we're finding out, there's a lot more. Yeah, so zoning is a big one. You can get 2, sometimes 3 additionals on top of your primary, and then you can even rezone that, cut it in half, and get commercial on top of that. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to play this right now. Yep. So let's keep moving real quick. All right. So construction timeline here, we're looking at 1 to 3 months. Basically, this is just kind of being very conservative, I want to say, just to get the design, everything submitted, get the permits done, and then basically get approved to get going. Once we're approved from the city, we come back, site preparation, 2 to 4 weeks, all the way. I'm going to say construction obviously is going to take another 90 days to 120 days. to complete everything to get your certificate of occupancy. And then from there, we're ready to start again, rinse, repeat, or.
Well, one of the things that you and I discussed, I don't know, a couple months ago, was okay. When I'm looking at a property and I'm taking buyers out, and I know there's no guarantees till that permit gets pulled, all right? And so there's always a risk. You never know. But if I'm looking at a property in Phoenix and I'm buying it with the intent to build an ADU, maybe extend that inspection period and give you guys enough time to do a little bit of preliminary work just to make sure that it can be done on this property. Almost like we do, same thing now with our home inspections. I don't even care what the home inspector says about the roof. We're just automatically having our roofing guy go out there and inspect the property. And so there's some preliminary work that you can do, and you can say, hey, these are going to be the potential hiccups, not a chance, and you know what, we're going to be able to pull this off and so forth.
Yeah, and just to kind of reiterate what we're talking about, we just go back to the city, maybe it takes a week tops to hear back, and we get a definitive yes, no, this is what you can do.
Sometimes, and this is a cautionary statement for real estate agents, you it's kind of like, well, I want a backyard big enough to put a pool in. And so consequently, you can put tiny pools or big pools. But here's the problem. You got to go to the city and look at what the lot looks like, because you could have a public utility easement, or you could have something on this dramatically huge lot that limits your ability to put something back there. So just in that train of thought, just don't go sell houses to people and tell them they can put an ADU in because the backyard's large enough, because maybe they can't.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. To your point, I had a client in Levine bought just one under 1 acre, and he was dead in the water right there because you need a minimum of 1 acre.
So my favorite thing is when the solar guys come to my door. I have so much fun with them. And I feel bad because they're just salespeople. They really don't know what they're not the ones who are actually going to be selling the solar. And I always ask what my break-even point is. So if I buy solar from you and my utility bill goes down, but I've got a $30,000 loan, like how many years is it that I am actually benefiting from the solar? So in the same way with and I know you're not a market expert, Todd, just more of understanding the market, but like at what point, if I spend $200,000 on an ADU and with property appreciation, this doesn't even count what I might be using it for additional income or whatever the case is, but at what point does it pay for itself?
That's a good question. There's a combination of factors to consider. Obviously, price per square foot of the area is a big one. What it's going to appraise at when it's completed, that's going to take a big effect. And then also, how big is the space? How many bedrooms? How much are you renting it for? All this will take in consideration. And basically, I do a little bit like of math. I know the average Airbnb, like a 2-bedroom, you get $50,000 to $80,000 a year, and that's after you pay your mortgage, your expenses, and stuff like that. So you break out it fairly quickly, and I can help any client that's interested in talking about that with me one-on-one. I'll be more than happy to.
So taking into factor, I'm going to ask it a different way. Taking into the factors of construction costs, obviously slabs and probably steel post tension, probably maybe not, and all of the typical home amenities that have to go into that property to have it be certified as occupancy. The question that I have would be, are the average dollar per square foot construction costs, typically like up there in the custom $450 to $500 per square foot range, or are they more reasonable? I don't know what reasonable means, but are they significantly less that would make it even that much more attractive?
Okay, we're actually priced pretty aggressively, I'd like to say. So depending on what part of town you're in, if you're obviously in like Prescott or Flagstaff or something like that, you're going to pay a little bit higher of a premium just because of mobilization cost. But if you're inner city, where there's lots of construction around, lots of labor, that's going to be minuscule. I think we're highly competitive. It's going to be a lot less than if you were to buy like a tract home, for example. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, no, but yes, I was trying to get somebody to come to the realization that if they're living in a neighborhood and the average dollar per comp is, $420 a square foot, that doesn't mean that that's what the per square foot for that ADU. That was my point.
Okay.
Because you led to it earlier, and I
Yes.
just kind of thought somebody might have grabbed onto that.
Yeah, I think Justin did actually touch on that briefly last time. He did mention that there's a formula, and he didn't give us the exact breakdown of how that formula works. But yeah, you're not going to get dollar for dollar.
Yeah.
So,
What's the next slide?
all right.
Yep.
So yeah, just as we're talking about return on investment opportunities, we got rental income, short term, long term, property value increase. Obviously, this boosted with the added square footage to your property. Multi-generational living is huge, not just for kids, but also elderly as well. And then obviously tax benefits. If you own a home-based business, this is really great for getting some sort of tax break, write-offs, grants, et cetera, low interest financing costs, as well as appreciation. So lots of different ways to make money here. Lots of ways to get financed. Our guy, Justin, he's basically educating me, if you will, on all the different loan programs that are available. There's so many. So every situation is differently unique for everybody. So it's not one size fits all, but basically if you want to come, if you're interested, if you have equity, if you have any type of yearning to figure out how you're going to do this, just give us a call and we'll walk you through the process. Super simple, but we do anything from hard money, home equity financing. We can even do a VA loan, it just depends. So come and see us.
Yeah, and like I said, I still love the idea. If I'm going out shopping, there's an avenue, Todd. I find a house that I like, and I know I want to build an ADU, so I'm going to finance it all together at the same time. And once I close escrow, the financing there is there for the ADU. Then it converts into a traditional conventional loan. Once you're done, there's just a lot of great. There's a lot of creativity you can do, and for our team, we've been spending a lot of time with Justin and Jonathan over this, and so Justin's got just a tremendous wealth of knowledge. If you're even interested in ADU, if you got clients that are interested in ADUs, but I think they're huge talking points right now. It's a huge talking point. We all know a lot of people in downtown Phoenix that have got some big yards. And they don't know that a lot of these restrictions have been relaxed a little bit. Because like I said, Todd, as you know, 3 years ago, it was almost impossible to get one.
This is even a great alternative to you got a stale listing on the market. And it's just it's a more expensive home. Maybe call it $1.5 million or $1.2 million, and you've got a yard large enough for an ADU to put a unit on to be able to take the advantage of the additional dollar per square foot, the additional square footage availability, the additional ability for people to utilize the home with larger families, which seems to be the problem today, and ultimately ends up putting you in a totally different price category than the rest of your neighborhood. And you're probably going to sell your home faster just because of the accoutrements, the value.
All right, so as promised, we have Jonathan's number on here. So this is where it gets really interesting, and I just want to be clear. I've had a few lengthy conversations with our designated broker about this, and we are in this situation. And Jonathan and I came up, well, Dwayne as well, came up with the concept of calling it an introductory fee, because I didn't want to call it a referral fee because it causes so much confusion. All we're doing with our clients is introducing them to RYS Development. I am not working in the confines of being a real estate agent, cruising contracts and so forth. It's like if I just, as Dwayne said, it'd just be like if you wanted to get a job at the car dealership. You can get paid for selling cars. And we'll go over a little bit later on some of the disclosures that Dwayne's excited about and wants us to talk about. But you guys have basically just 5 models ready to rock and roll. We've got the square footage, we've got the price, and then the introductory fee is what we can earn by introducing our clients to RYS Development. And I mean, it's pretty. It's bigger than a new build.
Yeah, it's almost a no-brainer.
So walk us through. Obviously, at this point, agents are going to want to call you and have this conversation with you. But I'm out and showing Todd and Lynn homes, and we get into this discussion. How does this handoff work?
So, for example, you refer me a client, your client's interested in building an ADU. As long as they're genuinely interested, you don't really have to know much about it other than, okay, this is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They want a 400 square foot, one bedroom. What can you help me out with, or what can you tell them? And then it's really as simple as just handing that off. And if it's legitimate, if it closes, and you get your introductory fee, it's not really a whole lot of legwork involved there. We like to handle all that ourselves. But I mean, it's really as simple as just like what I just said right there, a simple conversation. Like, here,
Kind of like what you do if you wanted a pool in the backyard.
exactly.
But we do. But Todd, we spent so many years. We've got clients that want to do a room addition or a custom home. Well, custom home where we should always be asking for a compensation, but even a pool and so forth. And a lot of agents have companies that they've referred for ADUs and casitas. But this is an opportunity for us to
Totally.
get paid for making the introduction.
I like the upfront perspective of 5 models. It's easy. The pricing, it's easy. The earnings are easy. The only thing that I see, which I'm sure Dwayne's all over, is just the requirement that we disclose we have additional income coming from that. But other than that, yeah. I mean, I think that now I do, Mike. You said something. I want to make sure it lingers in everybody's mind, which is this may. And to your point, how much time you need, this may require you extend the inspection period, because commercial properties have like look periods where, the property doesn't engage until you've done all your due diligence. Residential properties are so much more cookie cutter that reality is people don't need, well, they should, but they don't take the time to do significantly more investigation, like, for instance, if they wanted to put a pool in after close. But this becomes part of the transaction, so to speak, almost, because you're doing this so it's under one loan package, and there's some additional pieces there. So is there any recommendation on approximately what type of inspection time you would need from the point in time of introduction to the point in time of being able to say to that person, yes, we've talked to the city, we can do this?
I would say just give me 7 days, really 7 business days.
Okay.
It doesn't take much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, great. That can potentially change to not maybe having to extend. Just get them in touch with you earlier.
Yeah, and so Jonathan, with these prices, what am I looking at as far as what is the ADU coming with for that price? What are some things that we need to prepare for? In addition to, because I'm going to assume this is not including landscaping, this is just the structure. And then what comes in the ADUs that's custom, or not custom, but that just comes with it.
Okay. So what's included basically, so obviously all the construction, we do 2x6 exterior construction, which is a little bit more than the 2x4 a lot of people like to use right now. So I think it adds to the durability and the life expectancy of the product. Also, we do standard 9-foot ceilings. I like that. Obviously, if you want to do bigger, higher ceilings, you're more than welcome to. But that's what's standard in our models. All appliances are included. We do stainless steel appliances. Only thing that's really not included would be like furniture. Yeah, I mean, we include the lighting, we include the paint, we include the flooring, we include like literally just you're ready to move into this place and just move your bed in. But everything else is included. Like I said, all the way to the certificate. Here you go.
So do consumers have the opportunity now? I understand this is I pretty much think the answer is going to be no. But in most new home construction, we sit there and we have to go to a design center and we have to pick the level of cabinets and things of this nature that might be similar to the property we own. How does that work?
So we actually have another deck page where we actually are able to send that out to the client. They can pick out what color cabinets they want. We can actually like show you, and you can feel them if you want. And also the same for the flooring, same for the paint, same for literally everything that we include in the house.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. There is Jonathan's phone number up there. I know. In January we're going to have you at the North Phoenix office meeting, and then you and I were going to start putting together some classes going around to the different offices. For me, it's just a great conversation to start. It's just something else for me to have conversations with people, and it's just a great opportunity. So, all right, Jonathan, appreciate it.
Cool.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
All right, we'll leave it. Quote of the day. I'm quoting Oprah Winfrey. I'm just going to let everybody read it.
Yeah, while you're reading it, let me just also say this: there'll be no statistics next Monday, only because I'm on vacation. Next
We're
week.
off next
Yeah,
Monday.
there's no
Oh, we're off.
podcast.
Okay,
Todd
good.
was
Then
going to say
that'll
there's no
work out.
podcast next Monday, is what he was
no,
saying.
no,
Yeah,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Big shout out to Big Oprah. Thank you for the quote of the day. Appreciate everybody joining us, going out and sell a home.